If last night was the prelude to Week 10 in the NFL, we're in for a good one. That was a fantastic football game with the Baltimore Ravens winning, trying to make a case for the other team to watch in the AFC, not named the Kansas City Chiefs. Much of the conversation has been about the great play of Lamar Jackson. Dude, Jamar Chase,
snapped.
Good God.
He was snapping. Indeed, snapping.
I'm telling you, man. I don't know what that payday is going to look like because there was some speculation that like, oh, he wants a little bit more than Justin Jefferson. Dude, when you go into negotiations, just throw last night's game on and be like, all right, this is why. Like this is why when the Cincinnati Bengals made the decision when Jamar Chase came out in the draft, this was following Joe Burrow's rookie year in which he had his knee ripped up and caved in. And the thought was, well, they need to improve the offensive line. You had Penei Sewell, who was there and available, and the Bengals took Jamar Chase, and it's like, man, Penei Sewell's a stud. That
he is a stud.
Yeah, but Jamar Chase
on
another level, man.
He's a stud too.
Yeah, he's
a guy.
He was fantastic. So the decision came down to the end where the Cincinnati Bengals decided they were going to go for two, try and get a little bit aggressive. Zach Taylor spoke about that, amongst other things, following a tough loss again to the Baltimore Ravens.
There was a good football team, but we expected to come in here and win, and we did everything we could to do that. Doesn't change the fact that I'm proud. I think everybody on that field fought, gave us a chance. Lost a game on the road to a good team, and it's sickening that this has happened twice to us. We got to find a way to close out these games. We had our opportunity. We got down there, went for two, and just didn't work out for us. But this team's going to continue to put us in good positions, and there's going to be a point in the season where that turns, and we'll respond the right way from this game. You got a one-game season next week against the Chargers before the bye, and so we'll get our bodies right and get ready to go fight them.
Process on the two-point conversion.
Came here to win.
I mean, anybody that watched the game shouldn't have been surprised that they were going for two there. Like, they went for fourth down several times when they could have kicked a long field goal and just said, no, we need more. And they were right to think that way because Baltimore was unstoppable in the second half, especially in the fourth quarter. And so if you're the Bengals, like, yeah, why am I going to, we talked about this earlier, like, why am I going to take the chance like Tampa Bay took in overtime on a coin flip, knowing if you lose that coin flip, the way Baltimore's offense was, you're not getting the ball back. So they had 2 yards to pick up. Their offense was moving, and they just didn't pick it up. And should they have probably gone in the direction of Jamar Chase in that spot? I would have thought so, but they didn't. But I don't come away from that game going, that was a questionable decision. You needed points. That was your opportunity to win the game on the road. But it's got to be really, really frustrating for them. And you can tell Zach Taylor's frustrated because this is now twice. Like, they probably should have won the first game. They were leading in this game as well, too. And Baltimore's just figured out a way to outduel them in the end.
Well, could it be out-survived? Cincy, I mean, there were some missed plays. There were some missed calls that could have easily changed the outcome of the game. So I'm not going to say they outplayed them to win the game. I'll just say it was last night's more so like kind of resonates to me that this was a back and forth game. And there were a couple plays, and listen, you could use the same logic for Baltimore as well. There were a couple plays that could have been considered questionable, or a couple plays that could have been made that maybe would have opened the game up a little bit more. But I think more so for Cincinnati in this scenario, there were a couple misplays that clearly would have made the game, would have took the game in a different direction. So,
can I ask you something that Ryan Fitzpatrick said post-game? Because I'm curious what you think of this logic as a former player, because this one just doesn't sit right with me. So the final play, or the two-point conversion, in which they were stopped, on the left-hand side, so Burrow throws to the right, but on the left-hand side of the screen, there was a clear hold on Gesicki.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't call it.
Gesicki.
And Ryan Fitzpatrick's thought was, well, it was Joe Burrow wasn't looking to that side, so I'm okay with that not getting called.
That still doesn't not make it
exactly.
It still doesn't not make it a penalty.
Hold on a second. He's in the slot. He's getting grabbed and got pulled.
It should have been called. It should have been called.
Like, even if he's not looking in that direction, the official should be.
There were some egregious missed calls. I mean, the face mask on Joe Burrow was egregious. I mean, there were some egregious moments in the game. There just were. And they weren't called. But, again, they were still in position to win. And in fact, I mean, I would say it was maybe questionable that the receiver that was receiving the ball was I mean, he was pass interfered with as well on that play. So, I mean, it is what it is. Obviously, the lifelong discussion and debate over fairness of calls is going to always reign supreme as it applies to the reality TV show called football. But the opportunities were there for Cincinnati to win the game, yet and still, in spite of. And so, I don't know. I don't know that you get at 4-6 being where you currently, 4-7 now, right? Or is it 4-6? Is it 4-6 now?
4-6.
I don't know that you get door prizes or moral victories in losses at this point. I think that it's hard to take anything positive away from a loss. But if I were to take one away from it, it's that Joe Burrow is the real deal and Jamar Chase is a freaking goblin, bro.
And the other part about Joe Burrow, I kind of mentioned this yesterday. Lamar Jackson's getting all the love in the world, and he should be, because he's playing even better than he was during his MVP seasons. Dude, Joe Burrow's off to the best start of his career. And this is coming off the injury that a lot of people wondered, God, what is he going to be like?
He almost threw for 100 yards more than Lamar Jackson.
He's unbelievable.
I mean, in theory, and they threw for the same amount of touchdowns, and Lamar ran for more yards, so he did show multiple dimensions of his game. But Joe Burrow was dealing,
and he's also got no run game that he can rely on. Like, he could turn to Joe Mixon before and be like, "I'll hand the ball off, and at least I've got somebody that I trust is going to pick up yards on the ground." Like, he doesn't have that this year. Like, they're one of the worst teams in the NFL at rushing the football. He's got to throw the ball. Everybody knows he's throwing the ball. Everybody knew Jamar Chase was getting the ball last night. T. Higgins wasn't in the game, and they couldn't stop him. Like, they could not stop Jamar Chase. It was one of the great performances you'll see. So, it was, look, that's a fun game, but I'm with you. I don't come away from that game and lose any sort of feeling about Cincinnati. In fact, I feel better about them. If they can just get into the postseason, right now they're sitting in the 9 seed. They've got Indianapolis, who's a half game in front of them, and they've got Denver in the 7 spot, who's 5-4. If Cincinnati gets in and they're a 7 seed, that's a scary proposition for anybody. Because right now it looks like Buffalo might get the 2 seed, so they would play Cincinnati in that spot. If that's the case, if I'm Buffalo, man, I don't want to see the Bengals in the first round. Like, I don't want to have to deal with Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow in a big game like that in the first round. Like, I don't care how good my season's gone, especially with their luck in the postseason. So if you're Cincinnati down the stretch, they've got the Chargers coming up next. They've got Pittsburgh. They're at Dallas, at Tennessee. They've got Cleveland, Denver, and then at Pittsburgh again. The Dallas, Tennessee, Cleveland, Denver stretch is where I think they're going to make up the bulk of their wins down the stretch. And then if that's the case, if they look like they should be in position to get into the postseason.
If they do, they're going to be dangerous.
Yeah.
1-game seasons with this type of team that has struggled the way that they have struggled early on, they'll be a dangerous team. So, they just got to get there, though. And I don't know if they're able to do it. It may be, by record, it may be hard for them to get in the AFC.
So speaking of a team that's not going to go to the playoffs, that's the Dallas Cowboys. One of those teams that's going to be one of the wins for Cincinnati down the stretch. You tell me if we're getting gaslit here by the Dallas Cowboys, because they seem to be real optimistic about the fact that Cooper Rush is now taking over. They can feel the rush from Cooper taking over a quarterback. Okay. Here's your guy, Micah Parsons.
I still believe we can make a run. I've seen what Cooper Rush can do. That's a good boy right there. You know what I'm saying? Cooper Rush got a lot of talent. He won games for us. by just doing the basics, just playing good football. So it's not like he can't do it. I got full faith in him. We won four out of 5 games with him. So to have the understanding or think that he couldn't do that again, especially look at the stretch he had when we did it. We beat the Bengals, who was a good team, and Jets. We beat good. I had a good run towards there with Rush. So I got full belief. And it just so happens that when I'm coming back, Dak isn't. So maybe that's what God had intended.
Well, I'm convinced. I'll tell you that right now. That's
Man, if Mike is better than me. Sat my ass right on out. How many more games left? Ain't enough. Enough time.
Like they can try and spin this however they want. It's a little bit gaslighting. I understand it, but there's no way in hell anybody Dak Prescott said and mouthed on the sideline, and it was visible. You didn't need to. It wasn't like the CeeDee Lamb one where it was like, hey God, what's he trying to say to Dak on the? You could visibly see Dak Prescott say, "We effing suck." Like, you didn't need a professional lip reader. Anybody with a pair of eyes could watch that and go, "Oh yeah, he just had an honest moment there. We suck." Like, they've got to know it's over. Like, we're just trying to get through this thing. I just want to get through the holidays in one piece. We've got this Thanksgiving stuff coming up, and then, we're going to be watching the playoffs from home, and then we'll figure out what happens in the offseason. But there's no possible way anybody there in that building feels like, with the way the season's gone and all the noise coming into the year, that, oh, yeah, we got a legitimate shot in this thing. They don't have a chance.
As a player, you think it because in the NFC, it's still very possible that could happen. It is possible. Is it likely with their circumstances? I would say it's more than likely not likely for them. But, I mean, crazier things have happened in the past, and it all starts from a mindset, right? Get one game, take a step forward, get another game, take a step forward. They could salvage the season. Just like we just talked about, I mean, they're just as much in the same kind of situation as Cincinnati is, except Cincinnati has Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. I don't know. I just think that it is possible. And
yes, you do know.
You have to you certainly have to maintain the level of belief that you can get it done. I mean, I would say that for certain.
What's your level of belief in the Cowboys down the stretch?
Well, I said they weren't going to be good before they were even in the situation they're in now.
Listen, full disclosure, I picked them to go to the Super Bowl. It's over, okay? In fact, if you need a reference to want to know whether or not it's over, above, on top, right there in Dallas, in Jerry's World, there's like an overhang. There's like a wooden overhang, and carved up there it says Brooks was here. That's a wrap, folks. They are done. Their season is over. We can try and spin this and talk about how optimistic we are. Dak Prescott's hamstring is off the bone, and maybe he could come back. No, he's not. Dak Prescott's not coming back this year. This season is over, and we're going to be looking for a different head coach in the offseason. Not calling for anybody's job, but it is what it is. They can try and keep hope alive all they want. It's a wrap. I don't know if they're going to finish ahead of the Giants. And I don't know how many people had them going dead last in the division.
I don't think anybody had them dead last now. Not at all. There are a lot of people. They're closer to the Super Bowl and preseason picks than they would ever be being dead last.
Oof.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And what would you do if you were Micah?
Hey, bro, I'm a heel all the one. I am going to be extra credit healthy going into this offseason. Extra credit healthy.
Oh, man. Just get through. Just get through in one piece and get paid. That's all you can hope for.